I'm Carrie Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show Barney and Friends. Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carrie Stinson, and this is Purple Roads. Welcome to another episode of Purple Roads. I'm Carrie Stinson. And this is so much fun this week. We've got my good friend, Josh Martin. My God, I've known him for a long time. We started out on the Barney tour together, and we've just done so much together. I'm so excited, as always, to have you here. Josh, how are you, brother?
I'm great, brother. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm just ecstatic about this. You know, you've been on a couple times as a co-host. You've been a couple episodes.
Right.
But I was like, we got to have you on the whole time. Everyone's got to hear your story because it's an awesome one in so many ways. So why don't we get started?
All right.
In Louisiana.
Okay. Well, sure. That's where it all started. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and grew up in Halton, Louisiana. Baton Rouge, yes, sir. Red Stick. If you're from America. Yeah. Born at Baton Rouge and grew up in Halton, Louisiana. That's outside of Shreveport, Bossier. Any Dallas Cowboy fans or any football fans for that matter. Dak Prescott and I graduated from the same high school. Played football.
Same coach, right? Same football.
That's right. Played football for Coach Rodney Goulin. All right. Shout out
I've been
Rodney.
Hearing stories of Rodney for a long time. He's a legend to me. I've heard so many stories.
He is a legend. Check him out. He needs his own story. I started a little documentary on him way back. It's unfinished. It's in progress. But he's a great guy. He's still great. So yes, Louisiana. Yep. I grew up in Houghton, and I kind of was always into acting, and into voices even, and just being silly, being a character. And so when I played one semester of soccer at LSUS.
Oh, okay.
And after that, and paying for my own college, I decided, you know what? I am going to give it a shot. I'm going to try to be an actor. And so I told my dad, I went home one day and I said, Dad, I don't think I'm going back to school next semester. And he said, oh, really? What are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to move to Los Angeles and be a bum and try to be an actor. And he goes, well, do you want some help? And I went, oh yeah, please. Anything, please. And he was very supportive, and he had actually been into advertising while we lived in Shreveport in Houghton. He worked for an advertising agency in Shreveport, Carter Advertising. Later on had his own agency, and they had used some talent from Kim Dawson over here in Dallas before. Yeah. And so when I mentioned I wanted to be an actor, he called Kim Dawson to see what options there might be. And I tell the story that he asked if they would represent me. And after they stopped laughing, they suggested I come to their school and learn to act first. And I did need to. I had a lot to learn. Everything that I had done was really just mimicking, just stuff that I picked up watching television, movies, and other things like that. So,
it's such an important part, Josh, of all of this. I had a supportive father that I think supportive parents is so important to be in this industry because it's just so dang hard. Yeah, and then the boldness, from you to go from Houghton, Louisiana to Dallas, Texas, and Kim Dawson in this town is very well known.
Yes.
So I think that's
absolutely
fascinating. And then, so you started taking classes there.
So I came to KD Studio in January of 1994, just barely a year, not even a year, 9 months actually, since I graduated high school. And wow, I was I was in for a rude, not necessarily rude, but a wide awakening, should I say. You know, this old country boy, this old hayseed from Louisiana had a lot to learn, and I got to see a lot and experience a lot and learn a lot of great stuff and from a lot of great teachers at school, and a lot of great friends that are still friends to this day, that I established both working and personal friendships with. So it was really great. And along the way, while I was at acting school, I did comedy troupes with a friend, Chris Raker, who I performed with on Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, that plays Mr. Satan.
Mr. Satan, yes.
And we had both of you guys on with Kara Edwards.
Yes, you did.
In an earlier episode, so everyone check that out.
Please do. And so right after I graduated from KD in January of 1996, I got my first audition for the Purple one, Barney, the world tour.
Now, did you know at the time how big that Purple Dinosaur was?
I did not. I did not. I had a fringe idea. Mm-hmm. You know, I was aware that he was a phenomenon,
right?
But it wasn't really on my radar, so I didn't even think about it, really, to tell you the truth. I didn't give it a second thought until I got involved with it, honestly, and I was right in the middle of it, and there was no getting around it.
Yeah, because this was 1995, 96.
Yes, 96.
When Barney was really big. I'd been with him for 5 years at that point. And I think you and I also have this in common, which is you'd never been in a costume before.
I had not to that level. I had worn, oddly enough, while I was at KD Studio, there was a promotional event for a bottled water company called, they're not around anymore, called Valvaire. It was a French company, and their mascot was a cat. Oh, and me and my friend Rory Scholl, shout out to Rory Scholl, they needed someone to wear this costume. And so, you know, I didn't consider it costume work because all I did was put on a pair of pajamas with a head and walk around outside. Really, I mean, as far as I was concerned, especially compared to what I know it takes to make the man happen. So yeah, I don't consider myself to have ever been a costume performer before. I was always into puppets though, from very little. When I always loved the Muppets. Mm-hmm. I always loved Sesame Street. And at my grandparents' church in Monroe, Louisiana, they had a puppet department. In the children's department, they had a puppet. They had puppets, and they told this story at my grandmother's funeral. Actually, lady was still there, and she said, "You just love those puppets." And I was only about 3 or 4, and it was for like the teen. Mm-hmm. That was what I mean, apparently I just wore her out. Wow. And wouldn't let it go until she let me in there to play with the puppets. And they would let me come in and do little silly things with the program. But yeah, I was always interested in how that happened, and it was great entertainment to me to begin with.
So, and I'm guessing your improv skills really helped you with this.
Yes, without a doubt. It helped both in the auditioning phase, because the first audition was to jump around as if you were in costume, but without the costume. And had
you watched videos? Had you watched anything to kind of prepare yourself?
No,
not at all.
No, I had no idea.
Wow.
Like this was literally, I'll tell on myself after this a second, but
Sure.
It was just to jump around to an imaginary audience of parents and kids to the Barney theme song, to the opening theme song.
Yeah.
You know, Barney is a dinosaur, that part.
Yeah.
And just the instrumental. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I want to remember that they had the audience on the DAT tape. You know? And speaking of puppets, right before I went into the audition, for whatever reason, Jim Henson's Mana came over. It came into my head. Yeah. And it put this giant grin on my face. Because, I mean, who doesn't love that song? And
for the ones that don't know that, explain it.
Mana by Jim Henson. It was a classic bit on Sesame Street and The Muppet Show.
And The Muppet Show.
I believe it started on The Muppet Show. They showed it on Sesame Street as well sometimes. If you don't know that, check it out. Mahna, Mana. And so, yeah, it put this smile on my face, and sure enough, it was pretty easy to jump around and be silly for a minute. And I thought, back to telling on myself, when I was told about the audition, I looked at Sherry Taylor, who was at Katie's studio, who had paged me to tell me about the audition. I didn't have an agent yet.
We were doing pages back then.
Yes. She gave me a page, and we didn't have, I was living with Chris Rager, by the way, and we didn't have a phone. And so I had to walk up to the 7-Eleven and use the payphone. And so I did. And she said, can you come up to school? And I went, sure. All right, come see me. So I got up there, and she said, I have this audition for you. And I was like, oh, okay, sweet. It's for Barney. And I went, she goes, what do you mean? I said, I don't want to do that. She said, why not? I said, I'm not even 21 yet. I wasn't. I was fixing to be 21.
Wow.
Not even 21 yet. I said, and you've seen our comedy show.
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm their number one candidate.
Right.
And for context, we did blue comedy, college humor, adult humor.
Right.
So I really didn't think that I had any place being involved with Barney, with what little I knew of it.
Uh-huh. So did she talk you into this?
Listen, while I was at school, Sherry Taylor was like mom away from home, right? She was in charge of financial aid, and every once in a while she'd call me to the office. How are you doing? I'm all right. And then give me a check. And I'm like, and before you get too crazy, it was financial aid that I paid back eventually.
Right. Yeah.
But I didn't know that you could do that. I didn't know that was available to me anyway. But she could see that your boy needed a little help along the way. So fast forward to me telling her, no, I didn't want to do this audition. And she gave me that mom side eye, and she goes, I think you need to do this. And I went, all right. And so she called up Lynn Ambrose and arranged the audition. And I thought, you know what? I went to school. I finally graduated this 15-month program that, telling on myself again, took me 24 months. Had a lot of growing up to do, ladies and gentlemen. It happens.
It does. But you graduated, and that's
but I didn't stop,
part of that story.
And that's the point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Never stop. Always keep going.
Right.
So I said, okay, this is what I went to school for. I'm gonna go and do this. I get this over with and move on to some real auditions. And so, boom, I finished with that. I finished with the audition, and I left, and I was still happy, but I still had the mindset with that. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Because besides, that's kind of how you're trained to be when you're an actor.
Yeah.
Because you hear no 99% of the time, right? Yeah. And so
absolutely.
if you sit on hopes and wishes, you're gonna be sitting for a while, and it's not gonna be healthy. So
and you're gonna be hungry.
Thank you. So I gave it, I just let it go. I didn't get home good until Sherry paged me.
Really?
And I went, stopped at the payphone before I got to the house, using the old noggin. And she goes, well, they want to see you back. And actually, she made me come back to the school. And I sat in her office, and she goes, they want to see you back. I said, really? Yeah. Do you know what this means? I said, no, I don't. She goes, this is for a world tour. Oh, really? Yes. She goes, and it pays. And I was like, oh, really? Yeah. And so, things got ramped up a little bit right there.
This was Barney's big surprise.
Yes, that was what it was. I didn't know the name of it. I don't know that it was even made known to me at the time. And by the end, that was on a Wednesday, and I had to go back on Friday. They wanted me to see me back on Friday. And I did the same audition again, except I had to get in the costume. And
this with Miss Penny, sweet Miss Penny, and
Ray Henry.
Ray Henry, yes.
Ray Henry put me in that costume.
Shout out to Ray Henry.
Shout out, my man. He put me in the costume, and he gave me the 411 in about 5 minutes and strapped me in, and he said, go. And so I walked up, and I believe it was Sloan and Lynn again, and Miss Penny, and or it might not have been Sloan yet. I can't remember exactly who I was. It's kind of a blur to be honest.
It couldn't have been Sloan, because you would have remembered if Sloan was there.
Well, to be fair, I had some mesh in front of my eyes, yes. So I wasn't completely clear.
Yeah.
So I had to do the same audition I did before, but in the costume. And so I did it. And this was also with, making him all of it. They gave me the 411, make it work.
Yeah.
And bro, I got out, and I came back. I got out of the costume, came back to the front. Well, how are you feeling? I feel good. I'm great. Okay, well, thank you. And I left, and I thought, oh, well, I did my best. Here we go. Next. And on Monday, I got another page. And this was Sherry telling me, all right, well, it's down to you and 3 professional dancers. But they want you to lose 10 pounds and get in shape. Oh, and learn this choreography. And so, boom! They gave me Radio City.
Oh, they did
that performance in Radio City.
Radio City Live.
Yes, and told me to learn that. The assignment was to learn that first, the intro,
the opening,
and then the curtain opens. Happy and you know it.
Yeah.
And then I remember that. Goodness. And so I rode my bike from Inwood and Lemon to Motor or Medical Center and 35. I shouldn't have done it then. Try doing it now. I rode it back and forth every day for 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks to do it. No, I had 1 week. And
people that don't live in Dallas, that's a trek.
That was not safe, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. I was 20 years old.
Well, and we talk about this all the time on this show. And you're trying to get a job.
At this point, listen, your boy,
you got a world tour.
not only was he living with, I was living with Rager. I wasn't just living with Rager. I was living on Rager's floor. It was his apartment. I wasn't on the lease, and it wasn't a 2-bedroom. So, you know, all of a sudden the prospect of, I'm going to make, wow. All right. Well, okay. All right. Hey, not bad for my first gig. All right. Well, let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
And so, I had to go to school to watch the videotape, and I was like, what is this? Looks like he's just jumping around.
Yeah.
And there was a movement teacher who was a dancer.
Right.
And she was able to decipher it for me, and, you know, step ball change, grapevine,
yep,
fossy.
Yep.
The whole thing. And I rode to school. We did a little aerobic workout. She taught me the choreography. I went back on that Friday, and we had to do we had to perform that intro of Radio City. And I did it, and I got out, and I walked back, and I was like, and I was good. I felt good. Because I'd worked out, and I'd lost 10 pounds. I had really gotten in shape. I was also 20.
Yeah. Always helps. Always helps.
Yes, right. Metabolism was at its maximum. And I got out, and Sloan was definitely there that day, no question. And Lynn was there, and Miss Penny. And they said, well, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? And I could see they were smiling. I was like, I feel good. And they go, well, you look good. And I said, well, thank you. And they said, well, thank you. We'll be in touch. And I go, and remember, I love you. And I walked out, and they all giggled at me. And I was like, yeah, that was fun. But at the end of the day, though, I was up against professional dancers. So I thought, well, it was good. You know, that's not a bad start.
Yeah.
Not a bad start. I'm not a dancer, not professionally trained by any means. I've been accused of having some rhythm here and there, but
yeah. And we'll talk about that later.
Go ahead.
Well, you know, it's so funny, Josh, because I have the other side of this story, because I was there. I was already ready to go on that tour. You know, I had been doing sing-alongs and stuff for Barney for years at that point. And Sloan came to me and said, hey, we're going to go on a world tour. You want to go? And I had the same reaction you did. You know, what? You know?
Right.
But I always remember her coming to me and saying, we've hired this kid. His name's Josh Martin, and he's got the same heart you do. And I think that's such an important thing about Barney, because that's what they were looking for, right? They were looking for things that you didn't realize, you know. Obviously, the in shape part was really important, because, you know, my God, how many shows we did over the years. But it's that heart that's so important. These fans just love so much this wonderful Purple Dinosaur. And if you don't have that, you know, the steps don't mean anything, right? If there's not the heart behind it. And so I think it's amazing. And, you know, one of the things I love about doing this show, Purple Roads, is I find every week kind of this same thing. And I'm finding it with you too, which is, you didn't really start out for children's entertainment.
No, sir.
But you ended up loving it.
No question.
I love everyone kind of stumbled into it.
Yeah.
And it's never wasn't goal, but they end up, you know, finding something special.
Sure. And, you know, being a fan of cartoons and Sesame Street and all of that,
right.
I already had some experience with it, and not necessarily, I didn't want to be in it.
Sure.
But it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to go to Dallas and be an actor and get into children's entertainment.
Right.
Or even, and maybe I'll get into children's entertainment.
Right.
No, it was, as a matter of fact, before I moved from Houghton and went and interviewed to the school, I thought there was only 2 ways to be an actor.
Right.
Famous or poor.
Yeah.
And to be honest, there's not much difference these days, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm kidding. But I had no idea that there was a working middle ground. Yeah. And they sold me on that. And that is definitely, that was at the time, certainly more so, available
right.
to make a living at it. And so I just came over here because I thought, ooh, maybe I can book a Bud Light commercial and make 50 grand for the year for 3 days work, you know. And that was really the sales pitch,
right.
you know, and it ain't a bad one. And it
Mm-hmm.
was a true one. You
Yeah.
know, they had, at the same time, if they were honest with me, they would have looked at me and known that I was not the beautiful blonde female that had just booked that $40,000 commercial that they were selling me on.
Right.
But those are other things that I had to learn along the way, which I did. And I was fortunate enough to be able to do that while going to school and not necessarily getting eaten up in Los Angeles,
right.
which I certainly would have hindsight 2020, you never know what would have been. But
yeah, I'd say a world tour with the Big Purple one. Oh, not a bad way to start.
Oh my gosh. And when after I booked it, and then I was able to kind of like wrap my head around it a little more, that's exactly what I put in my brain. I was, bruh, I'm getting paid to learn. Yeah. I'm getting an invaluable experience.
Yeah.
And so I did my best to soak up as much as possible. I did.
So you know, I want to go a lot of different places on this one. You were on Purple Tales with me. You've been on a couple of these episodes. So you know, I want to go to some new places.
Come on.
But I want to start here. And we have so many people that watch this show that want to get into this type of entertainment, that want to be puppeteers, that want to be actors, and they're learning the process of no and all of those things. Mm-hmm. So do you mind giving them a little bit of advice?
Well, I don't mind at all. I'd be happy to. You know, I would say follow your heart. It sounds cliche, but it is the truth. Don't do it because you think it would be cool. Mm-hmm. You make a lot of money, you get fame, all that. Don't do it for the right reasons, and that will propel you in the right directions. You know, I just wanted to be an actor. Yeah. And so I propelled myself into that direction of being an actor. And along the way, I saw different opportunities to continue to be involved in that. And fortunately, I've been able to continue to stay in acting. It has not been easy. Right. It continues to not be easy, never mind the obvious. Yeah. But, you know, for me, at least, I'm not that guy that people clamor to hire. I just ain't that guy for whatever reason. I do my best, and it's all good. I ain't worried about it. Right. But that's just how it goes.
And that's an important part, right? The not worrying about it. You know, just throwing your creativity out there.
You got to. Yeah. You have to. But I mean, they already have plenty of everyone else that they're already hiring. Sure. At some point, I'm just hoping that they're gonna need Josh. Well, you know, there can't be anybody else, and so they gotta have me.
Well, I've been laughing during this whole crazy time that we are going through in this world with COVID. Man, you're putting out something. There's a video, there's a song, there's a chat, there's something. Your creativity and your need to throw it out to the world.
You're talking about me?
I'm talking about you. It's pretty intense.
I can't help it. I figured that out. If nothing else, I've learned during COVID quarantine that your boy is going to be creating and be creative as long as I'm around, for better or worse, whether anybody digs it or watches it or listens to it or whatever.
Well, I've been watching
it. Just happens. Well, thanks. Thank you very much. Thanks. It's fun. It's fun.
It's fun.
I had to do something. like just like everybody else, I was sitting at the house going, and I got children and a wife, and so there were times where I actually had to, okay, I'm suiting up.
Right.
Got the gloves on, got the mask on, finna go get groceries or got to go get something that, you know, somebody needs or, you know, but those other times I'm just thinking, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? And my brain doesn't stop.
Yeah.
My brain doesn't stop. And so eventually my body has to follow suit. So I wound up getting up and making a dance party in my closet.
I know, my gosh, I was laughing my head off with that thing. I was like, goodness gracious, he never stops.
Thank you.
And we'll have to you know what? You get me that video somewhere, and I'll put a link to it, and we'll put it on the back end of this show. And
I'll email it direct.
Do that, and we'll put it out there so you all can check this out.
Thanks.
It's fun. I think one of the things that is so important for actors, and this is what you've done, which is you kind of listen to your heart and you move a lot. And so you went from Barney, you went back to doing the comedy troupe.
Yes.
And then at a point, you went on tour with Bob the Builder.
Yes.
On their tour.
That's right.
And then we have this little tribute band, Ryman and Steelan, that you've been very successful with. There they are. And we'll put links so you can check out Ryman and Steelan. They've been going strong for a long time.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
And then obviously we're going to get to here in a minute, but we're going to get to that character behind you that you have become very successful with, and a lot of fans love Majin. But I want to get to the comedy troupe first. So you decide to leave the Barney tour, and you go back and doing comedy again.
I did.
What was happening there?
Wow. Well, you know, and after Barney's Big Surprise, like I mentioned earlier, I did my best to soak up as much information and experience as possible. And I did.
You did. You absolutely. I know you did.
I did. I know you know I did.
Yeah, you know, I laugh on this show. I've had Barry Pearl on. We just had Harold on, and they all kind of talk about you and you know what you were doing out there, and you jumping in. You know, you went on both sides, working with the cast and the crew. You jumped in and learned that aspect of it, which I think was fascinating.
Well, you know, Katie was my only formal acting training, and that was a cram course in television, film, theater, and all of it. Right. And whereas people like Pearl and, you know, other guys, they've been in great drama programs for a long time, or you know, graduated from a university, and a lot of this stuff that I was learning was new. Just from a theater, a stage aspect. Some of it wasn't because of the comedy troupe. While going to school, you know, we were all young and hungry and ready for that agent and ready to work. And all the agents said, well, as soon as you get some work, we'd love to talk to you about representation.
Very true. Very true. It happens to all of us.
Well, how are we going to get work without representation?
Right.
Well, I'll tell you how we got work without representation. We made our own work. Me, Chris Rager, Mark Orvik, Mike McFarland from Dragon Ball Z, Chad Klein, you know, Jim Kinzer, tons of, you know, many other people along the way. But those are like the core people that wound up, you know, sticking it out from way back in 95 to all the way to 2009 was the last time we really, you know, did something together. But you know, the point is we all had the same like senses of humor, fans of Saturday Night Live, In Living Colors, Second City, the same stand-up comedians, George Carlin. You know, we just all had the same like minds, and we started learning about how those comedy troupes and shows became famous, and they were from improv. I didn't know anything about improv before I moved from Louisiana. I didn't know. I mean, I'd seen Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
I thought it was a cool trick.
Right.
That's awesome. I don't know what they're doing, but that's awesome. I didn't know that there was this whole process and technique.
Yeah.
But all of us, I was learning from these guys that I was already being silly and doing voices, and they're like, "That's we just hung out with each other."
Right.
And along the way, we just decided, we're just going to make a comedy troupe. And oddly enough, the first one we did was Actors Without a Stage. And the first place we performed was at La Suprema Mexican restaurant across the way from the original studios at Las Colinas.
Oh, wow.
For Barney. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know that place.
Yeah, I performed there before I knew that Barney was right across the way. Because it was already right across the way at that time.
Okay.
I had no clue what that was about. I just knew that
there
was this little Mexican restaurant.
94, 95?
It was 95, yes.
Okay.
95 to 96. It was just that year. It's just that year we crammed a lot into a year, but we did that. And we did a lot of shows, and they were very bad. They were long. They were very actory. Very, you know what I mean? But I think there was maybe 14 of us.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. It was, there were some good seeds that were planted there. Yeah. There were, but it was just, I look back and I think, bless us for getting through it. But
don't you think that's important?
Absolutely. Yeah, you gotta put it up.
14 people and long. It wasn't great, but you did it. And boy, what did you learn from that?
I mean, first of all, I learned that that's what you got to do. You got to get up and do it, because until you do, you're not gonna know whether or not. Listen, maybe you are De Niro, whomever, brilliant, perfect. You don't need a lesson. You just need a stage, and you do your thing. I've met them. I've worked with them. I'm envious to a degree, but at the same time, the majority of the time, you got to get up there and do it, and let the audience tell you whether or not. Because 9 times out of 10, you could be wrong.
Right.
You just never know. The audience could be, it could be an off night for you, or the audience. And it could be. It's important to do the same joke every night for 6 months, because you see that it works a lot of times. Okay, well, that's why I'm doing it all the time. Sometimes it's lame. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes I'm having an off night. Sometimes it's raining and everybody's mad, or whatever the case may be. But you got to do it,
right?
And it also helps when you bomb. It doesn't hurt so much.
Yeah.
Those boo-boos ain't so bad anymore.
Right.
You can brush them off a little easier. And more importantly, though, the more you do it, the better you get, the better choices you make. You find out what doesn't work. Well, maybe we won't do that again.
I know those guys really well. I've went to so many shows. I just love them to death.
Right. Thank you.
What would you say you learned from them? Let's say Mark Orvik.
Wow.
Mark, he's one of the funniest people I've ever met.
Any questions?
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. One of the funniest, quickest. I don't think you can't bottle that. Like I was saying, some people don't need a lesson or anything.
Yeah.
He's almost anti-lesson.
Yeah.
I've been with him in class settings. And I mean, much love to you, Mark. He'll tell you. But just funny. If I have to come up with something outlandish, I channel my inner Orvik, and I just let my mouth have verbal, freedom.
Right.
Freedom. Yes. So,
and then you got Chad Klein.
Chad, man,
also.
Chad is
quite funny.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the best technical improvisers in the business. Uh, yeah, and a longtime friend. He's one of the first people I met in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, really?
He was in my class when I started KD in 1994. Yes.
Wow. And then
Um,
McFarlane?
McFarlane, wow, musical genius, um, and responsible. He's got a crazy dark sense of humor. Opened my eyes to a different way of thinking. Love that, you know.
Yeah, it always looks like his mind is always working.
Oh yes, no question, no question. Just brilliant, super smart, great musician. Um, you know, accomplished director and voice actor, and he got me and Rager into Dragon Ball Z.
And obviously, you got to talk about Chris Rager,
Rager,
Mr. Satan.
Rager, yes, and Chris Rager.
Makes me laugh. So
I met Chris Rager. We were in the same class when I came back to KD's studio for my pickup session, shall we say. I had some growing up to do and learning how to stay on time and be responsible, and that you can't miss a lot of class. You got to go.
Yeah.
And you got to participate and do, even at acting school, they need you to do that. And when you're on your own, you don't have mom and dad to wake you up and
right.
And all that stuff. And so I had to take a break. And when I came back, there was Chris Rager, and that's when we kind of all, I knew Chad before.
Yeah.
Then we met. We got together with Rager. Rager had worked with Orvik at the Galleria Mall before any of us had met together, right? And so we were all randomly at a party before the first day of school when I met Rager, when I went back. And from then on, it was like, we're going to do a comedy tour. We're going to do this. And so we did. And over time, it just got better and better. You know, another thing that I learned too, doing the show and then going on tour, we did it all ourselves.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff we had to invent. You know, we had to just be creative because we didn't have a backdrop.
Yeah.
There was no proscenium. There was no, we barely had 4 cans hanging from the ceiling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that you came to a lot of those shows. So, you know, I knew what it took to do that on a shoestring, if not your mom's shoestring budget. And all of a sudden I was on the Barney tour, and that was a budget, you know. Not only with that a budget, but you had all the prime premier equipment and the premier people to teach you how to do it. And I never will forget sitting in that arena. I don't remember which one it was, but I was just so enthralled with seeing how everything went up and then came back down. I hadn't been able to really go to a load in because of hospital visits up to that point, but we were done. I don't think we didn't have to leave early or whatever it was. We hadn't gotten the buses yet. Mm-hmm. We hadn't gotten the buses yet. We were still flying. And I was sitting in the arena and the roadies were like, "What are you doing?" And I thought, oh God, I knew I was going to get busted. And I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to be here." And they're like, "You should be down here helping." And I went, "Can I? I don't see why not." So boom, I jumped the rail and I went down, and they were like, "Grab that, move." And I didn't stop since then.
No.
After that, I was just like, "Oh, that was fun."
So you went to the College of Jake Berry?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I had Dean Hale, Dean Behrens, Dean Goldstein, Anderson, Willie.
Yeah.
Shout out to Willie.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. You know,
Yeah.
All the I got to learn from all those guys about how it works, because I got to see as what I got to see was that no matter, even if we weren't on the tour and we were the Stones or
Yeah.
Aerosmith or whatever,
Right.
that stuff's got to get up and down into the
Right.
next city, and these are the guys that do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very
I had
impressive.
how we went to all these places all over the world, and I'd looked at the Grand Canyon in the book, and I'd looked at all these places in the book. Oh, that's nice. Whatever. All of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
It's real. Now all of a sudden, the time lapse video at the beginning of a Motley Crue music video, and then again at the end, all of a sudden, I'm seeing in slow motion, and I'm right in the middle of it. It was so fun. So fun.
So you get a phone call from Miss Coleman once again, and this time she wants to take you out on Bob the Builder. Anyone that ever got to see that show, was pretty elaborate with these trucks.
Yes.
So they actually created Bob the Builder's trucks and took these suckers on the road. What was that experience like? I mean, she obviously knew you and knew your abilities and knew all, you'd obviously put together all your skills to be able to do this. What in the world was that experience like, to be driving a truck? You've gone from a costume now to a truck. I mean, a truck.
Well, first, shout out to you and Harold, because without the two of you coming to the Section 8 show the night before the audition, I wouldn't have known about the audition, and I wouldn't have shown up to the audition. So I did, and these trucks were built on forklift chassis.
Yeah.
Actually, reversed forklift chassis. So normally the steering wheel is in the back of a forklift.
Yeah.
Well, they put them on the front. And I had a couple of gear shifts. I had one to make it move, another one to make the mouth go up straight and frown. I could make him stand up on his front wheels. That was just kind of like an illusion. The body on hydraulics would lift up, and the blackness of behind the legs looked like it was going up. The scoop, I was Scoop. I drove Scoop. It actually worked. I had to carry, what did I carry? The kite, I think it was. And I had to drive that around. It was great. It was super, super fun. It was amazing. I got paid to drive a giant toy. What? Absolutely. Yes. And I remember for the audition, I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? Again, no one did. Right. No one did, though, because it hadn't been, there's a brand new technology anyway.
Right. They'd never done anything like this.
There was a tutorial, of course, but so I did my best to drive it around with some kind of control, which was horrible. But as soon as I came back, I made it stand up. Oh, and I did, there was like this toggle switch that you could make the mouth, that you made the mount do. So I just cranked that, and this other one made the eyes on him would roll, and I just and so his eyes were just and I got Sloan laughing, and I thought to myself, yes.
Yeah, and that's an important part. I'm glad you said that. You had known Sloan, but that didn't mean you got the job. Right? You still got to go in and audition, and you've still got to wow her over. She's going to love you no matter what, but she's got to make sure, this is a huge investment. You got to make sure you got the right performer.
and with my experience with the costume, I realized that, you know, you got to make this thing big.
Yeah.
For not only children, but because you're in an arena.
Right.
You got to, you know, I'm sure there were times when I was just supposed to make his eyes go,
Right.
And I know that probably 80% of the crowd didn't see it.
Yeah.
But that was the gig.
Right.
But he's doing googly eyes. You know.
Yeah.
That's a big choice. Back to improv. Improv's all about big positive choices, and that's a big positive choice. Had Sloan not liked that, Josh, too much with the eyes.
Right.
You know, and I'd have known. Listen, speaking of Sloan, on rehearsal, your boy was blowing it. I couldn't control it. I couldn't make it turn at the right time. I couldn't hit my mark right.
Right.
And they were getting frustrated with me, and I was getting frustrated. And Sloan just goes, "What's the problem? Like, serious?" I go, "I don't know, Sloan. I don't know. I got to figure out how to drive this thing." She's like, "Well, do what you got to do." And everybody went to catering. And I sat out there and I tried to hit the mark and I tried to hit the mark and I couldn't. And then finally I just decided I was going to do it as lightly as possible. I came and I just went, bing, and I went, la, glided right into place. And I went, oh. So I went and I tried all my other spots and bang, I knocked it out. Went to catering. I said, "I got it, Sloan." She goes, "Well, good. What was it?" I was like, "Just got to be gentle." Just got to be gentle. She, "Oh, well, I'm so glad." And then I went out and I nailed it. And Miss Penny and Sloan, you know, in pure fashion, they didn't go crazy or anything. "Good job. Next. All right, that was wrong, and this was wrong, this was wrong. Do this." But that was all I needed. I needed to not be said anything to, because I was used to being the guy that I don't get notes. I know what I'm doing. "Oh no, Josh, you're supposed to go here.
So we get off the road, and we'll finish up with Ryman, because I definitely want to talk about Ryman. But we got to talk about Majin Buu behind you.
Yes.
You've had a lot of success with this. This has been something that's just been amazing. So here we go now. We've been in a costume. We've driven a truck. We've done improv, and now voice for a Japanese animated show that is dubbed and done over here in America. What has that experience been like for you?
Mind-blowing. It's just been amazing. It's crazy. And the parallels to Barney are amazing as well. Fortunately amazing. You know, I already had a lot of experience with travel. And being on board with a popular franchise, and the experience and the responsibilities that come with all of that. But also, like Barney, or my experience with Barney prior to becoming a part of it, I had no idea what Dragon Ball Z was. I had fringe awareness of anime.
Yeah.
It was Japanimation to me before I got involved. No offense intended.
Sure.
But yeah, I didn't know what it was. And Mike McFarland in the comedy troupe was already a fan of anime and other properties. And through his fandom, he found out that they were dubbing the show just 10 miles from where we were performing the comedy troupe over in North Richland Hills. And he then found out about an audition for the show. He went and auditioned for it, and he got his part that he still has today of Master Roshi. And when he came back to the show, to the comedy troupe show rehearsal, pre-show, he told us that, you know, he had booked this part. And Chris Rager, in his ever-loving way, said, well, if Mike can book a part, I can book a part. So sure enough, Rager showed up at the next audition, and he auditioned for Mr. Satan, and he booked that part.
Wow.
And over time, the director, former guest of Purple Roads, Chris Sabat, also voice actor extraordinaire on Dragon Ball Z, My Hero Academia, and just, I mean, you name it, he's the godfather.
Yeah.
And he had come to a few of the shows. One night he was at one of our shows, and he saw me do a character called the Pillsbury Homeboy.
One of your more famous characters.
Yes. And he saw me do that character, and he came up to me afterwards, and he goes, I think I found the voice of Majin Buu. I was like, okay. Can you come to the studio tomorrow? You know, so I went, and I got in the booth, and, you know, I was super excited. I thought, oh, cool. But at the same time, it obviously wasn't what it is now.
Right.
But it also wasn't popular. It was a thing for us nerds.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you knew about it, you knew about it, but not a lot of people knew about it.
Right.
So I just thought, okay, well, cool. I'm still doing a cartoon. Cool.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a cartoon still. It's anime. Did I mention that? Yes, it's anime. So I went in, and they gave me the 411, and about this, he's this big fat pink monster who's really a baby at heart, but he turns people to chocolate and candy and eats them, and he destroys Earth. Okay. And so and they want me to use Pillsbury Homeboy as inspiration. So if you don't know, Pillsbury Homeboy is a take on the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Right.
But we imagine him getting jumped on his way home from school one day by the Keebler Elves back in the comedy troupe days. And decided that would have triggered him into becoming a gangster rapper. So instead of things like, nothing says loving like my crescent rolls. it was, I'm hollering 187 with my dough in your mouth. So Sabat saw a cute aspect, but a kind of a rude, edgy aspect that he thought would fit great with Majin Buu. And so he told me the 411 on this character, and then when they gave me the script, there were no lines. All he did was and fight scenes and all this other stuff. And I just felt like I was playing catch up for a while. And then three sessions later, I was convinced that they were going to keep calling me back. And sure enough, 20 years later, they keep calling me back.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how all that goes?
Super.
Yeah. And so you take all that, because we got to finish up with Ryman and Steelin, which has just been it's such a fun little project you've been working on.
Way fun. I've been super lucky to be involved with that. Some friends through improv, through another comedy troupe in town, Ad Libs. They had seen me do the Pillsbury Homeboy before and knew that I could not only rap, but rap live and in a crazy voice.
That rhythm we've talked about.
I guess so. And so they had the idea of doing a Beastie Boys tribute band and called me up about it. And at the time, in 2009, my wife, Shannon, was pregnant with twins. we already had a 2-year-old, and they called me about this tribute band, and I thought, oh, that's a cool idea, but there's no way Shannon's going to be up for this. So I got off the phone. Shannon asked me, who was that? I said, these guys from Ad Libs, they want to start a Beastie Boys tribute band. She goes, oh, that sounds cool. Yeah, they want me to be in it. Well, you're going to do it, aren't you? And I went, yeah. Shannon's the best, of course, as you know. I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was a little surprised because I thought, oh, this is going to be one where she's going to be like, all right, I love you, but no, I'm pregnant with twins.
Right.
Look, here's a CD. Go and do your little tribute band in the office. I'm going to be pregnant with twins, and when I need you, you'll be right there. But no, she was so supportive, and so I got back in touch with the boys and told them, let's do this. And we got together, and wow, it hadn't stopped since then. What year is it? Yeah.
It's amazing.
11 years this year. 11 years.
It's amazing. Can you give me a little bit of it?
Well, I think so, probably. Let me just take a sip of Dak.
I love it.
Wet the whistle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. If you could feel what I'm feeling, then it's a musical masterpiece. Hear what I'm dealing with, then that's cool at least. What's running through my mind comes through in my walk. True feelings are shown from the way that I talk. And this is me, y'all. I am C, y'all. My name is MCA, and I still do what I please. And now I like to introduce. I pass the mic to C for a fistful of truth.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Man, it's just such a pleasure always to talk to you.
Pleasure's mine.
I think it's, it's important for people to see the twists and the turns and you just never know where it's going to go. And I can't wait to see where it goes next for you.
Me either. Who knows? I'm excited. We're working on some stuff. What can I talk about? I just got my fingers in all of it. So in some music projects, you know most of the things I'm involved in, but some anime projects, some independent projects, and some other, personal stuff. Also got my family and friends. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. I can't thank you enough. And we're going to have all these links so you all can check out Mr. Martin.
Please do. I appreciate it. Yeah,
thank you, brother.
Thanks for having me. Having me. Everybody be well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Remember to keep your eyes, ears, and your heart open, and you'll find your purple road. I love you all, and we'll see you next week.
What's up? Get up out your couch.
We did the flower bed, ordered takeout, painted baseboards, took a selfie, sold a mask, hung a frame door, finished 8 puzzles, binge-watched Tiger King, installed a new bidet, mopped floors, changed the printer ink, rearranged my furniture, wrote 2 songs, dusted shelves, drank some whiskey, folded origami. Now it's time for a dance party in my closet. Dance party in my closet. Dance party in my closet. Solo dance party in my closet.